Welcome to the Resilient Retail Game Plan, a podcast for anyone wanting to start, grow or scale a profitable creative product business with me, Catherine Eardley. The Resilient Retail Game Plan is a podcast dedicated to one thing, breaking down the concepts and tools that I've gathered from 20 years in the retail industry and showing you how you can use them in your business. This is the real nuts and bolts of running a successful product business, broken down in an easy, accessible way. This is not a podcast about learning how to make your business look good. It's the tools and techniques that will make you and your business feel good. Confidently plan, launch and manage your products, and feel in control of your sales numbers and cash flow to help you build a resilient retail business. Welcome, it's episode 64 of the Resilient Retail Game Plan. My name's Catherine Eardley and I'm your host, as well as the founder of the Resilient Retail Club, which is my membership group for product businesses. And you can find out more and join up at resilientretailclub.com. Today's episode was actually a request from one of the club members. I had asked the group, as I often do, what people would be interested in hearing more of from the podcast, who they'd like to hear from. And somebody mentioned today's guest, Rachel from Accountancy, and said what an amazing speaker she was about small business finances, numbers, all of the things that, of course, I love to talk about as well. And I knew at once I had to get her on the podcast. Rachel is so passionate about making your accountant a really important part and supportive partner in your business. I couldn't agree more. I think it's so important to have a relationship with your accountant. And she goes into a lot of detail why and just how important it is to get into those good money habits right from the get-go. Hi, Rachel. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
I'm really looking forward to our chat today. Do you want to kick us off by telling everyone a bit about you?
Yeah, I would love to. Hi, everybody. My name is Rachel. I am a TEDx speaker. I am an author. I'm a business owner. But most importantly for today, I am an accountant. So I run an accountancy practice with my life partner and business partner, James. We specialize in working with small business owners and people in the creative businesses. So I'm in the right place, it looks like.
Absolutely. And we were having a little chat beforehand, and you were talking about how it seems like a lot of what you do is work around breaking down this stereotype around accountancy.
Yeah, so we have a phrase for the stereotypical accountant here, and we call it the stale pale male. So everybody, when they close their eyes and imagine an accountant, imagine a middle-aged white man in a suit that's going to make them feel uncomfortable and judge them for not knowing the right answers. And actually, I sort of just hang out on Instagram in my dungarees, making reels to educate business owners, and even little things like I sell merch that says like, don't let people spreadsheet about you, and cash fraud, not feelings. And actually like just running an Etsy shop immediately lets my customers know that I understand them.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I've seen your merch. I've forgotten about that. As someone who used to have a spreadsheet queen mug for a long time, I feel like we're on the same page. And I think what's so important as well is that I'm a huge believer in the power of having a good accountant on your side for your small business. And that was kind of one of the things that I wanted to touch on today was just, I'm a believer, but like, why do you feel that it's so important for small businesses to have an accountant?
The first thing to say is how much anxiety the finance side of businesses can cause business owners. And that's really difficult. And it's something that blocks a lot of people. Like they are so good at what they do, but sometimes the finance side just completely cripples them to the point where like they don't want to do it anymore. And having a good accountant should, and having the right accountant should make you feel really comfortable and open. And, you shouldn't be worried that if you pick up the phone, you're going to get charged. It should feel like calling an extension of your business, and to be able to sit down with somebody and use the financial records within your business to make better decisions that not only make sense, but make you money is amazing, right? Like having a good accountant can change everything within your business, because the only reason anyone's self-employed is to make money.
Right.
That's really important that we're all sort of can sit with that and be really comfortable with that, because that's why everybody's here, is to make money. And having a good accountant can help you do it better, be more savvy, save for tax, be more tax efficient. Having a good accountant can save you money, save you tax, just be more confident as a business owner and give you the time to do what you're great at.
That's so true. And I think that's where I've seen it work really well. I mean, I certainly feel like in my own business, I have a great relationship. My accountant is really helpful. And so, for example, I became a limited company and that registered. We touched on that earlier in our pre-chat. But just being able to have someone who says, okay, this is what's going to happen and walking me through it. When I compare it to people, unfortunately, I've worked with lots of people who've had the opposite experience where either the accountant's not been responsive, or do you find as well that there is this almost, you've got to find an accountant that gets small businesses as well?
Oh, 100%. So we work with so many small businesses, creative businesses, influencers, YouTubers, or even businesses like yours, where you have sort of like an online subscription model, for example, that have gone to a stale pale mail and they've not even understood what they've done. So they don't even know how to treat it from a tax perspective. Or like if I went to an accountant and said, I create loads of content on social media, I have a YouTube channel, I sell merch, they wouldn't know what any of those things are. They wouldn't know how to treat it. So they therefore, further than that, wouldn't be able to help you grow, scale a business, look at what's profitable, what's working, what's not working. And that's a really important thing that accountants can do is, as a small business owner, it's quite easy to see what's making you cash.
Right.
But quite often it's quite difficult to zoom out and see what's making you profit. Because it could be that as a small business owner, you're like, wow, this product sells for £100 and this other one only sells for £20. But it could be that it costs you £85 to make a £100 sale, but on the £20 it only costs you £5. So your profit margins are crazy different. And so often it's the day-to-day as a business owner, you're just checking your online banking and you just see the cash. But an accountant can help you say, pause, zoom out, let me help you, set up your accounting software in the right way so that in 2 clicks each month, you can run a report, see what's making you profit, as well as what's making you cash, and help you to understand the difference. Because so many people sit on calls with accountants and nod because they don't feel safe to say, can you tell me what's the difference between cash and profit? Because I don't know. And so often it's our job as accountants to hold their hand and say, would you like me to explain it to you? So that from day one, they feel safe.
Yes, that's so true. Because I always push that back to people. If I am working with people who work with accountants and they say, oh, I don't really get this, I'm always like, you've got to call them and you've got to tell them to explain it to you, because that's their job, to make sure that you understand these things. And I just think you're right. It's about that confidence, because if you go to someone who doesn't get what you do and doesn't get how it makes money or why it makes money, at the very least, they may make you feel uncomfortable and unsure. But at the very worst, I suppose I've seen people, especially when they weren't used to dealing with product businesses, so they didn't feed the cost of goods through correctly and this kind of thing. And it's really just emphasizing the importance, isn't it, of that relationship and seeing it as a positive, creative relationship as opposed to a kind of dentist.
Yes, right. So, and this is what's really important. As a business owner, engaging with an accountant isn't just something that you have to do to be compliant. Pound for pound, every pound you spend on an accountant, you should be getting something back, whether that's value, confidence, security, peace of mind, tax saving. It's not like going to the dentist where you have to go, you don't really want to, you're doing it because people are telling you that you should. You should be going so that pound for pound, you can feel the difference within your business. And that's the difference. Like, we flex our business to work in the same way that our clients' businesses work. So we look like a year 8 netball team because we all wear hoodies with our logo on, with our name on the back, because it makes people feel comfortable, because that's what our clients do. Our clients don't wear suits and feel, like we are comfortable within the business. We have a dog running around the office. And I think it's so important to, if you communicate with your customers and within your business on WhatsApp rather than email 9 to 5, I'll be sending you voice notes and gifs of Kim Kardashian throwing $signs when you hit 10K months for the first time. It's so important to find an accountant whose business and communication fits with the way that you run your business, and somebody that feels like your friend. Because as accountants, not only can we do all of the compliance and we can make you feel confident, we can connect you to people. Accountants are some of the best connected people you'll ever met. Like, we're not number 1 list on the dinner party invitation list because sense of humor, social life, but they're some of the best connected people you meet. So like whenever I speak to a new client, I say, what can I do to help you? Who do you need to speak to? Do you need an introduction to somebody that does social media? Do you need an introduction to website or SEO? Or it's our responsibility to introduce you, to connect you to our other clients, because that's a no-brainer. Because if they do well, you do well, we do well, everybody does well. It takes me 2 minutes to introduce you. And it's something that within the small business community is quite rare to have somebody say, how can I help you? What do you need? Who can I introduce you to? Do you want to go on a podcast? Because I have 15 clients that run podcasts. That's so important. And I would really encourage somebody to pound for pound, make sure that you are getting somebody that is looking after you. It's not like going to the dentist. You need someone that empowers you and sends you Kim Kardashian gifts when you hit 10K months.
Okay, that's it. Kim Kardashian gift. I love it. So we speak the same language. I absolutely love everything that you're saying. And it's so true. And it is so transformational. But let's just talk a little bit about financial habits, because as you said, we both deal a lot with people who've started essentially a creative business. So obviously most of the listeners to the podcast have product businesses, so creative product businesses. I always say this is a massively overused cliche, but the cliche is that, people tend to be either creative or they tend to be kind of structured and process driven. And as a business owner, obviously you have to I think you have to have both. I think if you're super process driven, it's very hard actually to build, certainly very hard to build a creative business because you're missing that spark. But equally, if you're incredibly creative and you don't go with the process, then that can be difficult by itself. So are there particular habits that you really stress to your clients that creative product business owners should get into from the start?
Yeah, of course. So I think regular bookkeeping is really important. And bookkeeping is something that quite a lot of people are a bit scared of.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have got a mate down the pub that probably told them that it's terrifying, they shouldn't do it. So one really important thing is whenever we take on a new client, we have a free hour of software training. So if they're not on software yet, or they'd like to be, we get them onto software and really map out how their business works from the inside out. So it's really important to understand that software isn't there so that you have to change your business processes to onboard onto the software. The software can be flexed to meet your business needs, work in the same way that your business works, and speak the same language. If you have 5 different product streams, your accounting software should be flexing to that, mapping all of it, mapping the costs associated with it, and spitting out profit margins that you understand in language that you understand.
Mm-hmm.
So bookkeeping is really, really important. And all bookkeeping means really in 2021 is connecting your bank account into the accounting software. And for every single transaction that comes through, you just tell the software what it was. So that was a sale, that was an expense, that was a cost of sale, that was my accountancy fees, my subscription to Catherine services. So it's just about you telling the accounting software what you're doing and why. And then the second thing that's really important is tax planning. And again, I would really encourage you to have open conversations with your accountant about tax planning. It's one of the most important things you can do. Again, with accounting software, it's just about running a report each month and popping some money into a little space on Starling or Monzo. You can set up a separate space called tax, corporation tax or personal tax, and just popping money aside each month to make sure that when you get to the year end, you've already got a pot of money. If your accountant is whizzy and doing all of the great things for you, you'll probably need less than it that is in that account by the time you get to the year end. So you have a little savings pot there as well. So tax planning and bookkeeping are some things that you can do on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis that will have huge impacts at the end of the year. Yeah, and then the only other thing is to really embrace that side of your business if you haven't. We see it all the time. Yeah, business owners that just feel alienated, or like you say, going to the dentist. It isn't a part of the business that they don't resonate with at all. But it is literally the reason we're all here. So if you really don't feel comfortable with it, find a way that it is engaging for you and that it does make sense. And your accountant is in essence a translation service, and it's their job to make sure that they are translating and mediating in a way that serves you. So when we're working with and educating clients, we make sure that not only do we explain something in words, we then explain it in a video and we explain it in graphics so that they have something that meets everybody's needs in a way that everybody can understand. Sorry, I'm waffling now. But
No, I think it's fantastic. I mean, so many different things here. Bookkeeping, I think you're right. Even the term bookkeeping, I think, gets people a bit hot under the collar, because some people will say, well, do I need a bookkeeper? Because it's seen as almost a separate role in some businesses. But you're right, it's effectively going through the transactions. I always believe in doing it weekly, because I find if I do it weekly, it takes me 20 minutes. And if I do it once a month, it takes me 3 hours. And I don't know why that is. But for
because you've forgotten what you've done.
I've forgotten what I've done. I mean, I'm a numbers nerd, so I don't mind saying this. But it's my favorite job of the week. I'm always like, oh, time to go through my software. So, okay, I know I've seen you do videos on this before, but this is a question I get asked a lot. QuickBooks or Xero?
Oh! So the answer is whichever one feels right to you. Right. So QuickBooks and Xero are very competitive, not only on price, but in usability, functionality, and new features. They're very, very competitive at all times. Quite often, one is running a special offer where you get a free coffee machine or something for signing up. So I'd always recommend you get a free coffee machine. The way I explain it is they're almost like internet browsers. Like, there are lots that do exactly the same job, but some people's brains just associate better with one than the other because that's how their brain works. One's blue, one's green, if that sways anyone. A conversation that I have repeatedly is new clients will come onto a call, onto Zoom and say, I think I need bookkeeping as a service. And I say, you probably just need some training and a good accountant.
Yeah.
If you have an accountant that you can ping a WhatsApp or a screenshot to and say, like, have I broken it? Then you've got somebody holding your hand, sending you a voice note saying, don't worry, it's impossible to break. You just need to do this or code it to the right place. So most people with some software and a good accountant, actually, you can save yourself quite a hefty figure in bookkeeping fees.
Yeah. And also, I think for me personally, the benefit of doing my own bookkeeping is it means it's always updated. Whereas if you're paying someone else to do it, sometimes you have to wait for them to finish reconciling everything. And then you can't run your profit and loss reports and get your hands on everything else there. Well, I think that's really good to hear because I and that's the sense I've always had with QuickBooks and Xero, that it's kind of interchangeable. So it's not like there's a magical unicorn one out there that's like way better than the other. It's basically effectively they're both really good, and it's which one you feel more comfortable with, and sometimes it's which one your accountant's plugged into as well, isn't it?
Yeah. So we make a point, we like there's no software that we don't work with, and I think that's really important. I think going onto a software because your accountant uses that software doesn't necessarily mean that's the right software for you. So actually, like, that's the reason that we've never exclusively partnered with an accounting software, is because we want it to be client-led, not software-led.
And that's the beauty. I mean, I have this with QuickBooks with my accountant that they can log in and have a look. And like you say, I'm like, not sure what I've done. I think I did it wrong. And then they'll say, oh no, it's okay, we fixed it. That kind of thing. It's so important. So then the second thing that I wanted to touch on that you mentioned, of course, was the tax planning. And so that's so important, but that's also then that partnership with the accountant, isn't it? Because you need to understand what that percentage. So usually, would you suggest then it's a percentage of sales each month gets put aside into a separate account so that you can, as you said, the way that tax should work is that the bill comes in and you go, okay, there's the money for it, and you transfer it.
Yeah. So tax planning is different based on a couple of different things. So the first thing is company structure. So if you're a limited company or a sole trader, the amount that you save for tax will be different. So that's the first thing, is company structure. And then the second thing is personal tax bracket. So some business owners are actually already higher rate taxpayers. So the amount that they would put aside for tax would be different, which again is why whenever we take on a client, we have a free hour one-to-one session. So we can really map out what their situation is and make sure they're putting the right percentage and the right amount aside for tax. Again, with VAT is something that every quarter people get a bit nervous about, but actually and it's so good on, I'm not sponsored by like Starling and Monzo, but you can set up automatic rules in Starling and Monzo to put away 20% of all of your income into a tax pot called VAT, which again, like you say, if you're putting aside 20% of all of your income, you can then deduct your expenses and the amount you pay for VAT will be less than that. So there's really great things. And again, having an accountant that has like a toolkit to help you is really important. Like, you don't want a computer says no accountant. So we have an app that you can just put in how much money you've made that month, and it'll tell you, right, okay, you need to save this much for corporation tax, this much for personal tax, and this much for VAT. So having an accountant that doesn't say computer says no, it's very important.
Why do you think people get in such a pickle about tax? Do you think it's just, like you say, it's maybe just not that visibility or just not that discipline to be putting it, or not even discipline, maybe that's not the right word, but not being in the routine of putting it aside, or not even realizing that it's what they need to, how much they need to put aside?
We're just not taught to do it. At school, no one ever talks about tax, VAT, national insurance. No one does it. You go into employment, it's done for you.
Yeah, that's
so Imagine
true.
When you're employed, getting your gross income every month, and then at the end of the year, someone being like, you owe £5,000. we don't do it. And becoming self-employed is being thrown into the deep end times 1,000 with penalties if you get it wrong. We're not taught how to do it, which again, like pound for pound, you need an accountant that gives you that value back. Because tax planning, that's the bit that people lose sleep over. Like I get on calls with people that say like, I think I'm doing everything right. I'm literally losing sleep over the fact that I think I'm going to go to prison, or like I think someone's going to knock on my door and investigate me, and I don't understand like what I should have been. Everybody has the right intentions, right? But we're just not educated on how to do it properly. But it's such a good. Can you imagine in your first job at like 18, if you were given your gross income and then just being told to like put the right amount aside, but no one's told you how to do it? It just.
Oh my goodness, you're so right. That would have been an absolute disaster.
If that's something that you do struggle with, and if you know you need to pay 5,000 for tax, you've got 5,000 in your bank, but you need to like stop yourself spending it. That is where like separating the money is a really simple, practical thing that you can do to just stop yourself doing it. And again, when you're able to have spaces and pots that you can just move money into very easily, it's not like transferring it into an ISA where it's fixed, just having a separate pot, which means if you go to try and withdraw money or spend money, you can't because it's not in the available current account. But being able to have something that you know how much is in there, you know how much you need by the end of the year, and you can visibly see that it's separate is a great way of like blocking yourself from spending the money.
For sure. No, that's so true. Then just move it out. And you touched on this earlier, but one of the questions that's come up in the Resilient Retail Club in our Facebook group, and you touched on it about having the different income streams. So you must deal with a lot of people who have maybe an Etsy shop and they sell on not on the high street, and they get payments from PayPal and they get payments from Stripe, and they take payments through Shopify, and they take payments through, they go to a market and they have an iZettle. And so there's money kind of coming in lots of different places. Then you've also got that layer that if people are VAT registered, but then some of their payments are coming in from Europe, from non-VAT people, like all of these different things. So is there a kind of way of getting organized, or does that again come back to kind of setting the software up in a way that to help you?
So software is everybody's friend in 2021, right? Like there's an app for everything. And again, having an accountant that like actually understands that is very important. So we work with a lot of Amazon retailers, Etsy shops, people that sell on Facebook and Instagram and through Shopify, and having a platform that can connect all of the different things and actually report them in the right way. Because as a small business owner, we pay charges on everything. To make a sale, you're paying charges, whether it's Stripe, PayPal, you're paying a percentage. And actually, that's a really, really important piece that your accountant must help you with is what is your sale and what is the cost of making that sale? Rather than what's in your bank isn't telling you the same thing. So there's lots of really, really great softwares out there. A2X is a really, really good one that have a very high level of customer service. They're very, very responsive. Sorry, I'm not sponsored by A2X. Their customer service is incredible. So I, as an accountant, have spent hours with them on Zoom. I know my clients have as well. And you can actually sit with your accountant and A2X and the customer on Zoom together, having open conversations about what you need the software to do. But platforms like A2X and like Connect My Books and things like that pull together Shopify, Etsy, like I make YouTube revenue, Etsy shops, Amazon retailers. They pull all of it together and they can feed it into your accounting software. You can update stock levels. You can update how much stock you have in different places. It really is an incredible way of like pulling everything together and translating it into a way that you understand. So there's some software out there that really, really is incredible, and it improves all the time. And especially with the VAT, Brexit, EU changes, these softwares are the first people to be able to help you make the right decisions. Because a lot of people, when we left the EU, turned off international selling because it was too difficult. And actually, these platforms are now at the point where the platforms can tell you, right, you need to register to do this, or, so they're able to translate things in the right way. And again, having an accountant that understands that is very important.
Amazing. As I'm going to go check them out because I've not heard of it.
A2X are really good.
It's a really difficult one. And there's more out there, I find, for people who can pay like £200-400 a month for say like an inventory management synchronization system. But for people who don't have the revenue to be able to justify that, aren't that many options. So I'm definitely going to go check that out.
A2X is the software for people who, like, rather than having like a warehouse, their warehouse is like their mum's spare bedroom. That's what A2X is. Like, that's where you need to be.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
All right, so that's going to bring me on to my next question, which is about cash flow, because this is something that a question that I get asked a lot as well. And so cash flow obviously is really important. And it's one of those things that I find personally is harder to get sometimes from, especially from software where it's almost looking historically and you need to factor in that sort of forward view. So I have my own separate cash flow spreadsheet that I maintain, which is quite useful for me just as a kind of double check as well against that everything I expect to be getting in, I'm getting in and that kind of thing. But presumably there's also software. I mean, you know, I'm very happy maintaining my own spreadsheets, but not everybody wants to have a separate spreadsheet. So do you suggest for cash flow forecasting, if there's extra bolt-ons to the accountancy software,
I've
got software for that?
So I would say, like with anything, it's a spectrum, and the spectrum basically depends on probably the accuracy of what you're looking for. So at the top of the spectrum, there are some really, really cool, like you say, bolt-ons that you connect into your accounting software that look at the historic data. They look at what's happening today. So they'll look at invoices that you've raised or cash that you've got coming in, and they'll use that to forecast moving forwards.
Yeah.
So that's like at the highest level of it's using it, and you can also update it. So for example, if you're a small product-based business and you sell soaps, and you know that you've got a really big Christmas fair that you're going to that you have been promised has like footfall of 5,000, your cash flow forecasting won't know that you're going there. So you need to tell it, I'm going there, there's 5,000 people, I'm going to anticipate that 2% of the people there will make a sale, and my average sale value is £5. So you, not only will it use historic data and use that to forecast forwards, you can also input seasonal changes, which many product-based businesses have,
for
Christmas.
Sure.
That's at the top end of the spectrum. One level down from that is that Xero and QuickBooks actually have their own built-in cash flow forecasting software. It's normally for about 30 days. And again, you can change things. You can manually add things in if you would like to. But that's where Xero and QuickBooks internally look back at what's happened and use that to forecast it moving forwards. And again, they are really, really useful. And your accountant should be able to show you how to use that and make the most of it. So one step down from the bolt-ons is the actual accounting software. And then one step down from that is many, many online banks now can actually do cash flow forecasting. So Monzo and Starling, for example, any direct debits that you have, the bank account will tell you what you've got in your bank at the moment, but then it will also say your bank's only going to look like this for the next 5 days because you've got a direct debit coming out, and then it's going to look like this. And then 2 days later, you've got another direct debit coming out, and then it's going to look like this. So for a lot of people, that's enough. Then we come on to the Catherines, who are my favorite kind of people, and they have their own spreadsheet. But again, like, it's all a spectrum, and no way is right and no way is wrong. And it's about doing business in a way that you feel comfortable, because you don't have to do everything all the time in a way that other people do. The most important thing as a business owner is that you're comfortable, happy, and confident. So it is a spectrum.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's so true. For the bolt-ons, are there any particular ones that you really like?
We work with a couple of different ones, but again, it depends. So for a lot of time, it depends if you're using Xero or QuickBooks and what level and your budget as well.
Well, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this conversation. Do you want to tell everyone more about where they can find out more about you?
Yeah, of course. So I would absolutely love to see you over on Instagram. That's where I hang out a lot of the time, just posting some funny reels and sharing some knowledge. So I am accountant_she, which is accountant she on Instagram. I'm also the same handle on YouTube as well, where if you are a business owner and you sort of want to have a look at little videos that explain what is the difference between a sole trader and a limited company, or like, what does an accountant actually do, then you should definitely check out the YouTube channel, where you can watch all of that content for free with no obligation.
Amazing. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. I really enjoyed this, and I'll put all your links below in the show notes as well, so people can get in touch if they've got any questions. But thank you so much.
No, thank you so much for having me, guys. It's been amazing.
What a great episode. I just want to say thank you again to Rachel for coming and joining me. I feel like we could have chatted all day. I definitely feel like we're on the same page, and I hope that you got some really great, useful tips about your business finances from listening to this podcast. Do head over to Instagram at Resilient Retail Club, say hello, share a screenshot of where you're listening or a photo of where you're listening. I always love to see where people are tuning in from, and tell me what you're going to do. How's your relationship with your accountant? Has this inspired you you to talk to them again, or to maybe even thinking about getting one that does understand you. Anyway, I'd love to hear what you took away from today's episode. And don't forget, of course, if you want to join the Resilient Retail Club, you can use the code 10podcast. That's 10podcast at resilientretailclub.com to get £10 off your first month. Of course, as always, if you have a moment to rate and review the podcast, it is so helpful to me and so helpful to getting the podcast out in front of more people. And of course, if you hit the subscribe button, you'll be the first to know about every new episode each week. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, then I invite you to check out resilientretailclub.com. The Resilient Retail Club is the membership for anyone wanting to start, grow, or scale a profitable product business. No more trawling Google trying to find the answers to your questions, or wading through general business advice that speaks mainly to service-based businesses. Whether you're still at the idea stage or you've been going for a while but want to get more focused and organised when it comes to your business, the Resilient Retail Club is the place for you. With a library of courses tailored to creative product businesses, several live sessions a month, and a supportive and active community, the Resilient Retail Club is the perfect membership to help you hit your goals faster. Check it out at resilientretailclub.com.